everybody. Welcome back to A Higher Future. I'm UBC Yeti from InterviewIA. And today I've got a great guest continuing the conversation around, the future of work and how everything has just been impacted in so many ways. So first of all, Shawn Herring, VP, Head of Marketing at PandaDoc. I think most of you know PandaDoc. So first of all, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. UB, how about yourself?
Doing really good. Yeah, just been fascinating to watch all of the different changes and adaptations, right, that have come out of the last year and a half. But first of all, before we kind of dive into that, tell us a little bit about PandaDoc. Like, what's going on? What has PandaDoc done to adapt to the last year and a half?
Well, there's been a lot. I think us, along with a lot of other companies, have seen not only external changes, but internal ones. And so we have seen a lot of growth in different areas, and it's been at kind of this request and this need from the market of they need more help with their internal documents, like compliance, HR, onboarding, recruiting. The need has skyrocketed because we're virtual at this point. So if you weren't doing it already, you need a digital footprint there. But also we've seen a significant increase on the external documents, proposals, quotes, contracts, things that go outside the org. This massive need over the last, I'm going to say it was happening pre-pandemic, but the pandemic definitely accelerated things. Mm-hmm. The increased need of all these documents, you need better workflow. You need better insights about those documents. You need to be able to produce those documents fast. We see that need really spike and increase, but you need to do all of that with the end user experience, like being good, right? Both on the sender and the receiver side. So we've been solving that problem for the last 7 years, but we've seen the last 4 to 5, it's really just taken off. And it's even further accelerated up in the last year and a half with everybody going virtual.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, right? It's with everybody working virtually now, because I see it at InterviewIA, right? Like where do we, first of all, it's just document storage. Let's start there for a second, right? Like, where the heck is all our stuff? and it's, it ends up being like 3 or 4 different places sometimes. And how do you go find that? How do you collaborate on a document without having 3 different versions of that thing floating around? And so that, to your point, is and even more so dynamically changing, like almost every day, right? Like the need for structure around that. And so this you guys have a press release coming out, I think in a couple weeks or about a week, around this integration with Zoom. Talk about that, because what's interesting to me, and what, getting into a discussion about DE&I, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, equal opportunity for people. This is a big part of that, because, I think of small businesses from minority or underrepresented groups who don't necessarily have access to technology to help them get agreements signed, right? So it's literally impacting their business. How are you all trying to solve for that?
Well, I think the first thing we did right when the pandemic hit last year, 2020, we launched a free product to allow people to get documents signed. If you just want to sign a document and that's really all you need, we wanted to make sure that especially small and medium-sized businesses that were being hit really hard could just keep the lights on, right? So we launched this free product, and what we saw was we're well on our way to 350,000 people that are using it, but people just want a way to better do documents. Like, it seems overly cumbersome. I have a document over here, I got to cut and paste over there. And UB, you mentioned something. We have seen it increase significantly, the number of people involved in documents, the amount of processes that have changed with documents, the data that's changing, right? A price might change, or a person might change, or a name or a title. Like, everything has gone into a constant flow state. And so when it comes to documents, think about it. Like, what do you think of a document? It's like a static, always flat type of
Piece
thing.
of paper, yeah.
Everything else around those documents is changing, and it's accelerated over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So how do you keep up with that? That's what we've been really, really focused on. And we love to see what the small businesses are doing with it, is they're really embracing it. They're just leaned right into it.
Well, and you think, when you've got a computer in your hand and you're walking everywhere you go, right? And an opportunity presents itself to close business. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice to just quickly and easily be able to, boom, here you go, and it's that, and that's what I love about technology and how we've just seen in the last, to your point, 12, 18 months alone, the impact that technology can have in a good way, right? Because I think, there's a lot of discussions around AI and ethics and technology and how maybe it's causing more problems than good. But in reality, it can be such an amazing support to, especially for something that we're all going through right now. This huge change. I keep referring to it as a once in a lifetime opportunity. And, before we hit record, you said it's definitely a point in history where we're all going to look back at this because it was so impactful.
Yeah. I mean, everything has changed. And you mentioned the Zoom integration. That's one example of, I think back to 2 years ago, how prevalent was Zoom? Like you just having that conversation and people knowing exactly what you're talking about. So when you start to look at how quickly we've taken things from a description to a verb, right? Like, well, now if you've changed the way you behave, your daily work is via Zoom. Like we're trying to figure out, all right, well, if you're already doing it, how do we fit your document workflow into that? And that's kind of where we start to lean into this. Everybody's going as quickly to real time as possible. You have to be as dynamic as possible, whether it's with the document or just the interaction. And we're seeing a lot of people jumping on this and really pushing their business forward in this time space. So we've enjoyed it, and that's why we're excited to launch this with Zoom.
Yeah.
And the other integrations that we've done is just make it more real time. Everybody wants it.
Well, yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's funny because even though we're all at home in our offices, our home offices, it's like it's given us, it's almost sped up everything and the need for everything more so than before. And so to your point, like, how do we adapt to that? How do we get things done faster? Because we can now. And there is a sense of stress relief in that, the ability to get those things done faster. I mean, there's certainly stress on the other side of, oh my God, I've got 25 more things I can do now. But, it's, so how do you, first of all, kind of build a team around that now, right? So you're used to building teams of all sizes. How has the last 12 to 18 months impacted your mindset around how to build a team now?
In our particular case, it changed my mindset on our structure in that the entire organization was going remote. We decided as a company that we were going to be a remote first company. And that means you have to look at your teams differently, not just your internal team, but the teams outside of your department. And so we started looking at it. Specialization became even more important. Like we have to have people that are so good at what they do, they can teach others, like that kind of specialization.
Sure.
We found that a generalist mentality, I was never a fan of it. If you're in a scaling organization, it's better to have people that are really good at certain things versus some people that are really okay at everything. This has just fully increased that. So when I look at people now to join the team, I'm looking at them not just to like do a job, but actually to teach us what we should. Like, I'm so good at it, I'm going to teach you that you were only thinking about 50% of the problem. I could bring another 50% because I'm that good at it.
Right.
Like, that's what my mind has shifted to, is specialization, going really deep instead of broad in the hiring, in the skill set, but also starting to match teams. I think one of the things that I've I've seen in past teams is you want to complement teams. Some teams are really good at process. Some teams are really good at a narrative or storytelling, but they're not good at process. And so you want the teams to kind of work together in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And right now, I look at we have to invest even more in keeping the teams together because we're so distributed. So we're actually investing more in like project management. We're investing more in our meetings and as much as we can getting together.
Yeah.
We just had to. And so I look for people that can actually do that and not get burned out by it.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. And I hadn't thought about that shift from generalization to specialization. That's really interesting because, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, especially when we're seeing, you know, some of the older generations who are like, you know what, I'm going to leave now. I'm retiring now. So there's just like this mass exodus of knowledge. And so how do you backfill that, or how do you either keep it or quickly relearn it for the younger generations who are coming into the workforce? Because that's a big deal. That's a loss. It's not just the loss of people. It's that IP and it's that history. That can be super helpful.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, we're in the business of documents, but there's so much that isn't documented.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Like, and that's part of human nature. But you're right. You know, if you have that leaving, the need for specialization gets even more critical because now you can't say, oh, just pass me over your file. Like I'll know everything that you've had over the last 5, 10, 15 years across everything. Right. It's gonna be like, well, I can figure it out. Right. Instead of I know it, I can figure it out. And you go deep in figuring it out. So that's why you need people that know where to look. You need people to tell you what to get out of their way. And so I've seen my hiring change from we could do with more generalists to start to just figure things out to just going straight to specialization.
Yeah.
So,
and to get there, you know, it's about all of this sort of falls under this umbrella of structure, right? Like it's you have to, you know, really look at your current processes and understand where that lack of structure is hurting you now, because it's blown wide open because of this situation that we're in post-COVID. There's a light shining on everything, and the best way to start fixing that is structure. And then that's what I love about the work that PandaDoc's doing. That's what I love about what we're doing for interviews, right? It's you know, how do you know you're talking and asking the right questions of candidates, you know, because there's 17 different documents of questions that you could everywhere, right, that you could choose from, when in reality we should just have one that we've all agreed on as a team are the right questions to ask to know if we're hiring the right specialist. And where do I find that, and where does that store, and how do we evaluate all the candidates equally? And you know, then we get into, you know, these diversity and inclusion conversations. How for PandaDoc, you know, those conversations, were they always there? How has that changed over the last 12 months? You know, since George Floyd's murder and you know, the social unrest and just this spotlight on how almost every law or process or procedure, whether it's in the community or in our companies, could maybe have somehow, you know, been a part of that oppression and that inequality.
You're hitting something that's very interesting for us. We have a lot of people in a lot of different countries and different cultures. And so we've always been sensitive to the fact that we have different people that experience different things in their lives just to begin with. So it's not just all one location. But once we started going virtual, once we started with everything that happened in 2020, there was a myriad of things. Like every week there was something new. We implemented a change from the executive team out, and it really came from the co-founders we actually changed our culture code to include empathy. And we actually instituted that, and it wasn't just writing on the wall. because
Yeah.
we didn't have walls, right? So there's no digital
Right.
wall that we could just,
Right.
like a normal company just puts their values up. But what we did was like everybody really rallied in that. And you can see people just wanting to be able to empathize and have a different perspective, not just on your own. And that sunk into the organization really deep, all the way down. And what was great is our head of HR pulled that through into the recruiting team and was like, we need to be more empathetic. We need to be looking at what we're doing. And she was already pushing for us to look at the diversification of our workforce, not just in location, but in all aspects. And it just complemented it really, really well.
Yeah.
And so what we saw was it's come all the way through. We already had somewhat of a focus on it, but it's almost like last year was a MBA in empathy.
Yeah.
And,
It's a great way to look at it.
And we all learned from it. And so now we're implementing that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that it's that we kind of took the same approach even in our trainings. We were doing, while we were building Interview IA, we were conducting bias and empathy trainings, leading with empathy, because that's where it starts with understanding your own biases and then learning how to navigate empathy, to strengthen connections with people, especially those people you're not used to, and that's the biggest thing.
Well, different cultures.
Yeah.
Now you have no there's people on our teams that we still haven't met that
Right.
they've been working for us for a year.
Right.
I have people that I haven't met yet, even though I've talked to them every day. So it's really hard to go from that short twist of, you can meet people in person and it's not an issue and that's how you build relationships, to 100% virtual all at once for everybody. That empathy is really hard to build through a screen.
Exactly.
And we all have to adjust to it, right? And we're figuring it out, but you start to see that get incorporated in everything. But thankfully, it sounds like companies like yours and ours, we're trying to be so intentional around it that we don't lose sight of it, right? There's a lot of initiatives that are like, we should do that,
right? Versus
it's an ongoing discussion. That's what I like that's happened in the last 18 months.
Yeah, I think that intentionality, that right there is, I think, the key. It's got to be a priority and it has to be intentional and authentic. And so that's awesome. Well, so here's your chance for a mic drop. What is the future of work in your mind? Where are we going? Just in kind of in general.
We've already seen it happening pre-pandemic. Pandemic just accelerated a couple different things, but it's still going towards, there is going to be a constant dynamic or fluid approach to business and work. How things work, not just the documents, but everything around business. You're going to see the need, not just for lip service on real time, not just the understanding of, things might change. They're going to, it's inevitable. And now they're changing so fast that you need to react more in real time. Your business needs to, everything around your business needs to. And so that's what we see. We've been placing our bets on as a company, as well as personally. Like, I truly believe everything's so much more dynamic that that's where companies are going. That's where business is going. And the ones that are succeeding now, look at what they're doing. They're embracing the dynamic environment. Yeah. Awesome. Great mic drop. Love it. Well, Shawn, and thank you so much. Love this conversation. So tell everybody really quick what's coming out in the press release. I think on the 18th or something like that. What's that bit of news? Yeah, we're integrating with Zoom. So as much as you're doing a call, we want to facilitate the ability to not just do a call, but actually to do a document during the call, right? So we wanted to facilitate the integration so that so many people are trying to get this done. Instead of saying, hey, send me that, email me that after this, or I'd love to get a link at some point in time, you could treat it more like a real-time interaction. And so that integration with Zoom facilitates that. And that's what we're trying to get across in multiple platforms. But awesome. This integration that we're announcing is the Zoom one in particular. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, look for that. And thank you, Shawn. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you, UB.
Absolutely. And thank you all for continuing to tune in to A Higher Future. Check us out on our website and a lot of different streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So thank you all very much. See you next time.